What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to the podcast. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you smash the like button. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel. If you want to support the channel, you may do so by joining us on Patreon or becoming a YouTube member with the link down below. I also have some recommended products because I'm also an Amazon affiliate. So that's another way to support the channel. If you like some of the products down below, definitely buy it using that link. And then it gives me a kickback for the show to help support the show. So if you guys do that, that's awesome. I appreciate it. And also check me out on Spotify. The podcast will be uploaded on Spotify tonight. And it's also on YouTube podcast as well. So without further ado, you guys, we have a really special guest coming on the show today. It's none other than Aaron Bailey, the artist and the director of the upcoming project, Night of the Batman. So let's welcome Aaron Bailey. What's going on, man?
How's it going, dude?
I'm just going great, man. You know, it's been so freaking hot lately that like it's just I've been like staying inside a lot, even though I want to go outside, and I have a pool too. So I'm like, man, I should be going swimming, you know. But you know, my job, I work during the day, and so usually when at its peak, I'm inside. I'm at work, you know.
Yeah.
And I get off at night, so I'm like, man, it was hot, you know, the times I went outside, but that's about it. But no, other than that, man, it's been a great summer. But I'm just happy to have you on here, man. I know you're working on a project called Night of the Batman. We're going to get to that a little bit later. I'm really excited to talk about that. So far, the screenshots that you shared, I think, are phenomenal. Pretty much in every work that you do, I think is pretty phenomenal. In fact, I first heard about your art when we were starting to do Project Justice League. I'm seeing him on Instagram. I don't see him on here, but I started seeing some of the scenes that you were doing from the storyboards. Using the look of like real actors, and I was like, man, that's incredible. Who is this guy? And then from there, it just sort of it went from there. But in terms of your art, I mean, you do a phenomenal job. I'm looking at your Instagram right now. I mean, these are really, really amazing pieces, but they're different though, because you're taking like real images and it's just the spin you put on it. I think it's just really awesome. So can you talk to me about like your style of art and how it's progressed from where it started?
Yeah. Well, it really started out with just like basic Photoshop manipulation stuff where I'd find like stock images of people that would match what I wanted. And then I would, have a likeness on top of that, like just Photoshop it. And that got to where it was like, it was really limiting, honestly, because what I was trying to do was so much more like I had all these ideas, and when you're working with pre-posed like stock photos and stuff like that, it just you can't get what you want.
Right.
So that's kind of where I started. And then I moved into what I do now, which is all like 3D rendering stuff where I control like the action and the shot and the pose, lighting. And it really helps me to like bring everything together. Mm-hmm. So, but back then it was like the Wild West. Like I'd have to just like Google like man standing with arm up, and I had to like go through 200 photos to find one that I could use. So that was so funny.
And so now it's progressed now to where you're able to not just use the still images that you're using or that you find, you're actually making your own.
Yeah, that, and actually having like, I can take like with Night of the Batman, if I want to get like an Affleck under the cowl, I can take an image and work off of that in 3D rather than try to just find like a photo somewhere that works. It's so much easier.
Let me pull up your Instagram real quick if you don't mind. And there's a few of these that I thought were really cool. Now, obviously with Instagram, when you pull up full screen, it doesn't really go full screen. It gives you like a smaller screen. I'm like, hey man, what the hell?
Full screen,
Yeah, exactly. So this one right here, I remember when I saw this, everybody was like, oh, there it is. He had the black suit. And then I was like, no, wait a minute. It says it right here, Aaron Bailey art. He just did that. Yeah. But it looks really good, though. I was like, man.
The amount of times that has happened is, and half the time it's not even intentional. Like I'll just do an edit and then I see it like 2 weeks later, but that was one of the first ones that really got a lot of traction for me.
Oh, yeah.
The Flash Superman.
Everyone's like, there it is. Look, he had the suit on the whole time.
And that's just photo manipulation. That's just behind the scenes photo of them, color the suit black, and the photo behind the image behind him is just the Google VR of Ben Affleck's Batcave that they did, where
Yeah,
you could like look at it.
yeah, it's funny because when we made Project Justice League, so before we got to the stage where we were actually doing like backgrounds for some of these images, we I had went online. I found that virtual Google, what do you call it? The experience where you get to walk through the Batcave, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. So like every shot, I know exactly, like I can turn the camera where I want it, and I could frame it. I can capture the image and then send it to my guys so that they can kind of, work
that
off
has
of
helped
that.
me so much. That is, and especially with the Batman project I'm doing now, having a 3D reference of that Batcave is just like, oh my god.
And then for a while, like I couldn't even find it. Like I kept finding still images of it, and
they took it down, I think.
Yeah, they took it down. So what had happened was I had found it, and I took some stills. And then I was like, man, I'm really excited. This is going to be awesome, right? Because there's a lot of shots in the Batcave that we end up using because with Project Justice League, I had told the guys, I said, look, I go, if there's anything that we're going to do more of, because obviously we weren't going to animate the entire thing. Otherwise, we'd still be working on it now.
Yeah.
I was like, if we're going to show like the most scenes that we're going to do is going to be the nightmare scenes. That's what everybody really wants to see. So, that's where we put a lot of the Batcave scenes in, or like when Darkseid, kills Lois. Like that's what we said. Okay, we have to have those stills. So I grabbed some of those stills, right? And then later on in the process, when we got closer to some of the bigger scenes for the nightmare sequence, I went back and they had taken it down. So I was like, oh shit, what do I do? So I literally had to go through and just Google images, and like people took pictures of it. Yeah. So I have to take those pictures, send it over to Mariano, and then he has to see it, and then he has to take it and then put a filter on it, and just kind of manipulate.
That's what I'm doing. Well. That's what I'm doing basically right now. Is I'm using it as I'm trying to build it in 3D, which is really difficult because I have very limited like 3D modeling experience, like because that's basically sculpting.
Yeah,
like taking clay and sculpting it, but in digital form, and my experience isn't really as much in that. So it's been kind of hard for me. I'm having to try to find 3D assets that match stuff in the Batcave, and use it like that. Like I put out one the other day of it's when I did I finished that behind the scenes shot from the deleted post credit scene from Flash. The background of that is what I'm working on right now for Night of the Batman.
Okay.
Which, I don't know how accurate that would have been to the scene because he's supposed to be in a different universe or something in that, but like I wanted to test it out and see how it looked. So
let's see if I actually had that image too. But on what is it? Is it Adobe Create? I forget what it is. I have an account, but anyway, yeah, I've seen the image. It's really cool that you pretty much put them in the Batcave.
Yeah, it's like placing. I'm just sitting there for like an hour, like placing screens on a wall. Yeah, it's so like it's crazy. Sometimes I wish I could just draw it, like because if I could just draw it, it would be so much easier than trying to like manually place this. It's a nightmare.
So like in terms of like drawing itself, like line drawing, or is that something you're able to do, or is that just something that's never really been a strong point?
Like, a little bit, yeah.
Because I suck at it.
I'm not great. I'm I defer to people like Dawson for advice on line drawing because I'm okay at it. I'm really great at inanimate objects. I can draw a scenery. I can draw like a chairs, tables, stuff like that. But when it comes to, I can draw a city. But if you ask me to draw like a person's face, it's over. I can't do it.
Well, like even these shots here from Night of the Batman. I mean, this looks awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, this that's the new suit. Actually, I just finished that one. Just like tweaking it and stuff.
Yeah, the texturing is really cool.
Fun fact, that suit actually is the one from Arkham Knight. The original version is the Arkham Knight suit.
And that makes sense too if you're going to use it for that as a reference as well, because That one you can do a lot of different motions with it as well.
Yeah, it's made to move. The biggest part was getting it to where, because obviously the dimensions of Batman in that game are different than Ben Affleck's dimensions.
Oh yeah,
When you play the
he's
game, it looks
huge.
it looks really bizarre. So
It's so cool.
a big thing of that was trying to fit it to like the form of like how Ben Affleck looks in BVS, but kind of before BVS. So it's a weird,
right.
It's a weird thing. So, but yeah, that's the Arkham Knight suit just tweaked.
And then going back to your Instagram account, let me pull that back up. I mean, a lot of these too, like it just looks so fun. Just kind of putting them together, like how you have Henry Cavill here, and you have also has The Witcher. And a lot of these shots too, like I would look at them and go, man, that's like I want to do that. It's so much fun. Like you're just kind of creating, or you're editing an image that was already there, but
I mean,
kind of the way the fans want to see it, to a degree.
It basically, I mean, in Night of the Batman also just started out as me being like, what's fun? What do I want to do and see? And that just kind of like, it just kind of turned into that, where I'm like that one right there you were just over is
this one?
Thomas Wayne and Bruce from like if they had done Flashpoint with
shit. I'm going to Jeffrey D. Morgan now.
but yeah, that was just like an idea where I was like, I want to do this. I want to see what this would look like, so I would do it. And that kind of led into the Night of the Batman thing, because I was like, dude, I want to see a solo Batfleck movie, but I don't have obviously the resources. Yeah, that was. I saw that recently, actually. Somebody posted that in a replies on a tweet, and I was like, "Hey, I recognize that." But
and that's the other thing too I wanted to ask you about, is that when you make these images, so many other people will use them, and obviously not all of them are going to credit you, and you can only watermark it in so many spots.
Yeah,
what is that like when you find your art somewhere else and you're just like, "Hey, wait a minute, I think I made that."
It's weird. Funny enough, that middle one, the Barbie thing.
Oh, that one, yeah.
That was on Facebook. I saw it twice on Facebook. One had like 50,000 likes, and I was like, man, if I could see like 10% of the ad revenue from that, dude, like,
oh, I know.
Oh my god, and people will send them to me. People will be like, yo, dude, I saw I found your thing on here, and I'm like, oh, nice. Once again, like, but it's always the stuff that I don't want to blow up, like when I do joke edits and then it goes viral and people are like, "Is this real?" And I'm like, "No, God, no."
Or like this one here, got out and everybody was like, "Oh,
yeah."
Everyone thought it was real. And like, dude, that's not real. It's badass, but like I was like, no way, dude. There's no way that's real.
And that's just a process of like taking Jason Momoa's actual picture that he took and then having a 3D model, putting the tattoos on the 3D model, and then just finding things that I think would look good on like Nightmare Aquaman. So the shoulder thing and like the bandages, and I just kind of threw it together, threw it over the a lot of these. It looks like it would be a lot that goes into it, but a lot of the stuff before I did heavy 3D stuff isn't that crazy, really. It's just composition, and you just have to know how to get the lighting and stuff right.
Right on. No, I mean, these are phenomenal. The Aquaman one right here, that one was so cool. When I saw that, I was like, holy shit. This was cool too, having Hayden Christensen and Anakin's guy. I mean, this is like, oh, why didn't we see that? The one I'm about to show you right now is one that literally blew up the internet. Was this one right here? You put them in the Batcave with the armor on. We were like, oh, here it goes. Yeah. When I saw this, I was like, dude, people are gonna flip the fuck out, and they did. And then everyone started using it in their thumbnails. I used it in my thumbnail because I was like, damn, it was so good that you couldn't help but do it.
Yeah, I had people messaging me like, yo, can I use this in a thumbnail? I was like, go for it. Like,
well, and it's funny because like there are websites out there that were running the story that because he had filmed the scene for Aquaman, and they were literally like they had this image in the article like presented. You know what I mean? It was just like, wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, and then I didn't really care at the time about like the credit on it, like because I mean, like unless it's like an original thing I'm doing, I'm not too worried about it. Which most of the time that doesn't go viral if it's something I'm just, it's like an original idea. But a lot of my stuff is based in stuff that exists, so I do have that issue sometimes.
Well, it's really awesome, dude. It looks really cool, and it's funny because, like, again, this image here, a lot of the images that you worked on when it comes to DC, this one right here, there's a lot of fans that want to see these type of stories and these characters fleshed out the way that they were going to. But this guy right here, Zack Snyder, we're gonna talk about this little hangout session as well. But in this right here, I mean, a lot of people wanted to see something like this in the Flash, and I was telling people, on a previous episode, also on the Four Nerds as well, or on the Four Nerds Network, I brought up the fact that I thought what they were going to do was, since there wasn't going to be a Thomas Wayne in the movie, which I thought there should have been, but the fact that they weren't going to use Thomas Wayne, I thought for sure that what they were going to try and do was, Keaton was going to kind of give the Flash slip him a note similar to like Back to the Future. You know how Doc gave Marty the note, and the letter would be about obviously it would be to Ben Affleck's Batman. It'd just be to whoever this Batman is, and the letter would be about Alfred, saying how much you should cherish Alfred, how much he means to you. And so I thought. And so I was thinking about that, and I was like, well, and I was like, and it'd be Keaton's voice reading it to him. And then, obviously, this would be, the movie itself would be totally different if it did that.
Well, I mean, you could still have it from the angle of like Flashpoint Batman, where he's talking about Flash at the beginning, where he's like, Barry Allen is a man that's like, I can't remember what it says exactly, but it's like, it's something about like, he starts it off talking about Barry. And how Barry has like a lot of weight on his shoulders, and how he's like a man that's like, he struggles with things, and that kind of led into like, I'm proud of you and all this stuff, and they could have done that same angle with Keaton talking about Barry first, and then have it end with like, cherish Alfred. And
right, because that was the one thing that they had in common, was that they both had an Alfred. We don't know
has his Alfred still.
Right, his is still alive. And so it would kind of be like a, since his is still alive, it makes him realize how much he needs to cherish his time with Alfred, and how important he is to him. And then I thought it'd be really cool is, as he's reading him this letter, as you hear it in Keaton's voice, it would show when Keaton was actually writing the letter. And, he would then look over, and there'd be a picture of Michael Goff, the original Alfred from his universe, just a picture of him. What I mean? So you would see like, okay, he's letting him know. And I thought that there would be more reference to Alfred, at least one, in the sense that he retired.
Image.
I thought his retirement would also have to coincide with that too. Like, I hung this up for a reason, and especially after the loss of Alfred, it was hard for me to move on. I mean, something where it's like,
I heard some people complaining that they were like, well, why didn't he expressly say that Alfred had passed away? And I'm like, I don't really think that part was necessary, because literally Michael Keaton is like 70. So like Alfred was like 65 and 89. So like
he was probably more like 85.
Like obviously
the guy was old as dirt, and he kept living too. He lived through the entire thing. No, actually, no, he died. Was he alive in Batman and Robin?
I think so. Yeah.
Hey, he was. He
because Batgirl,
the whole saga.
Yeah, because Batgirl was
right, Batgirl.
He gave her the suit. Yeah.
So he survived the whole saga. Good on him.
Yeah.
So I thought they would pay homage to that Alfred. And so then this is before the movie even came out. So I was like, oh, that'd be really cool. Because, stupidly, I thought, oh, that'd be so awesome if at the end, because, I mean, look, I'll be honest with you. Like, the ending of the movie, a lot of us already knew what it was.
Yeah.
And so, like, when instead of Keaton coming out of the limo at the time, I was like, yeah, they replace him and have Ben Affleck come out of there. And then the next scene after that would have been him finding the letter and giving it to him. So, I thought that would be really cool. But, going back to that image that you had talked about, where you changed the background for Ben Affleck's Batman for the unused end credit scene for the Flash, I thought that his suit was so much better
Oh
with
yeah.
the silver and the black. I was like, dude, why don't we just rock that
Oh.
one? I don't know why we had the
I
blue
think
one.
it was, honest to God, I really like. I have not seen a single behind the scenes photo where it's blue, where the cape and cowl are blue. I haven't seen a behind the scenes photo where it's that color.
Let
I
me
think
check.
they
Let me
I
check.
think
Go
they
ahead.
did that in post.
I would hope so, but let me.
I
You know what?
think
I
because why
think
would they
there
make
was an
two
image.
suits? Why wouldn't they just use the same suit for the post credit scene? That makes no sense. Like, and people were talking about how like he had like Darth Vader shoulders or whatever in the post credit scene, and I'm like, that's because the cowl's not attached to it.
Well, yeah, because the
That's
cowl like leads right into
yeah,
it,
like
so it
tucks
kind of
into
evens it
it.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never
Let,
seen a behind the scenes shot with the
let me
blue.
see. I think there is one, but let
Is
me
there?
check
Oh.
because I want to see. Well, I don't know. It's kind of blue.
If there is, I'll eat my words. But like I thought for sure that was the same
No,
suit. Just
but that was a good point though because
it just like recolored in post production.
the blue didn't look very natural.
No, and I think
Even
that's
on
why.
screen.
I think that's what added to the. Everybody was saying that it looked plastic, and I think it was because they went through and like color, did so much VFX over top of it, which is something that you didn't see. You didn't see Zach do that much. Like
No,
in
yeah.
everything he shot,
This
the
is the only thing
cowl.
that I can find. And even this one, I mean, like the cape is one thing, but the cowl
Yeah,
has a tinge of blue, but I can't really tell. But the
yeah, I
chest
don't.
plate is different though. The chest plate is
Yeah, the
black,
chest plate. Yeah.
but the silver chest plate does look better though. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Oh God.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
Miles.
this suit right here looks better than all the suits.
Well, see that's the thing though. That looks blue in that lighting.
It does.
It
And
looks
it's not.
blue, and no, it's not at all.
Yeah, so it's hard to tell.
It really can come down to the lights that they use. I've found that out just by doing like rendering like in 3D and stuff, and like I'll have it literally happened to me like 2 days ago. I was doing a Night of the Batman thing, and I had it was the one I just put out actually, and I had like a blue light from off screen hitting Batman, and it literally turned his entire suit like it looked like the Adam West color blue on. Yes, just from one.
I'm trying to find that image. You know what's easier to
Just
do if I just do Night of the Batman. I did this earlier.
yeah,
I
that
don't know
might
why I
work.
forgot.
It turned the whole suit blue, and the cape and everything. And so I just removed that light, and and changed the light out, and it fixed it.
Was that the one where he's on top of the bus or a different one?
Yeah, that one.
Okay, I got it right here.
There yeah, whole thing was blue.
And it's
just
all based
from
on
like
lighting, yeah.
A light from the right hand side that I had put in there and positioned, and it's crazy how much that can change the entire like image. It's kind of insane.
Well, there's an edit out there that I had posted that somebody had made, and they literally like redid the music where they put more of like the Hans Zimmer Junkie XL Batman music in the scene. They put the voice modulator back in the scene, which I'm telling you right now. I mean, I wish I could play it because it sounds so cool, but
copyright,
yeah, they'll clap at me hella hard. But the adding the voice modulator back to the scene, it sounds so much better.
Yeah,
and it makes his narration of what's happening in that heist scene, so much more serious. But it just elevates the entire scene. I was just like, dude. Well, when I was hearing it, I was like, that's Batfleck right there. Yeah. Like that's him.
Well, when I was watching the movie in the theater, for the life of me, and this sounds terrible as somebody that's doing a Batfleck project, but I could not figure out why he sounded different. I was like, why does he doesn't sound as intimidating or something? And then I can't remember who pointed it out first to me. They were like, dude, he doesn't have the freaking modulator. And I'm like, that's exactly what it is. I was like, it just sounds like Ben Affleck, or just his regular. He wasn't even, I don't know if you noticed this, but in BVS, even with the modulator, he talks different as Batman. He does a very different cadence to his voice and stuff than when he's Bruce Wayne. And in the Flash, it kind of just sounds like he's doing the Bruce Wayne voice and not the Batman one.
Well, let's ask everyone who's watching right now. I'll put out there in a poll: should Batfleck always have the voice modulator? I would say yes, because that's his Batman. Like
it's
the fact
a
that
characteristic,
Right, and the fact that they took that away, it was a little weird. I think I would imagine they probably thought, well, we want to make sure that they can hear what he's saying, and we don't want it to be too dark. I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah.
He should have had the voice modulator in the fan edit. He had it, and it sounded so much better. But it's funny you mentioned that about Zack Snyder's Justice League, because yeah, his voice modulation was turned down a bit. It wasn't as kind of growly or deep as it was in BVS.
Well, BVS was like the high point of it. Like it was deep. I mean, like that was heavy modulation. And then they tuned it down just a little bit for Justice League.
Yeah.
And then later it's just gone.
It's just later he
yeah,
just I forgot to turn that on. Sorry.
Yeah. Whoops.
But no, it's funny because in Zack Snyder's Justice League, I feel like they wanted to make sure that you're seeing a progression for Batman. And so, because he had to be the leader, because he had to be more of the inspirational type, they had to kind of adjust it so that it's not so like monstrous, aggressive. Yeah. While in BVS, he was just fucking mad. And it's funny how even to this day, a lot of fans out there don't realize and don't have any idea that in Batman versus Superman, the Ultimate Edition, in BVS, that you're seeing a Batman that has fallen off the wagon. You know what I mean? Like he's gone off his normal path, and now he has turned to being ultra violent and even killing people, because now he's seen Superman. He was there at Metropolis, and it's like the trauma of going through all of that is a lot. But I think that a lot of fans were like, well, he's Batman. He fights bad guys all the time. He fights the Joker and all that. He wouldn't have tripped out. But I think it's different, and it's on a global scale.
For me, and this is something that I think maybe I'm just interpreting it different, or I don't know. But like, people always bring up the point of like, well, Zack started him as a really he was going through this trauma and he was killing people and he was like brutal and branding and stuff. And they're like, well, by the end of BVS, when he makes up with Superman, he's still hurting people and stuff. And I always like to think that that's not where that arc ended. He finally got back to the light and got redemption in Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Absolutely.
I think the end of BVS, he's still a broken man.
He's still a broken man.
By bringing the team together and by seeing the world and how the world rallied without Clark and like came together and mourned Superman, I think that's what brought him back. And that's what brings him to the point of telling Alfred, faith, Alfred, faith. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Or is him fully back.
And not only that, but then telling Cyborg, like, as that elevator or whatever it's called rises up, Cyborg tells him she wanted to fly. It's her nature. And he's like, it's yours too. You know what I mean? Like he's inspiring all of them.
It's like they brought it out in him. The team brought him back to the light. And it wasn't just the events of BVS that did it. Zack was playing the long game. That's what I love about his movies, is it nothing's resolved in one film. You have to stick with it. And it's the problem that I have with the MCU now, where like, they'll set something up at the beginning of one movie and just cap it off at the end. Villains, everything else, like instant solution to problems, where Zack was playing the long game. And that's why in The Nightmare, when you get to that, and eventually, thankfully we got to see a lot of that through Project Justice League. He finally, his version of Batman gets the ultimate redemption. He sacrifices himself to save a person that he cares about.
Exactly.
And that was the end of it for Zack. That was where he was like, okay, it starts here and it ends here. And that's the story that he's telling. And then even Joker brings it up that he's still not 100% there, because he's like, you don't even have the cojones to die yourself. Like you won't take the ultimate.
Well, and that was the best thing about that whole line, was that, he even drops the line of where he goes, how many alternate timelines do you fail to save the world because you don't have the cojones to die yourself? And even that alone was like, wow. you know, it's one of those lines where it's just enough to open up so much more. You're like, wow, there was so
Yeah.
much more there to really expand upon.
Well, and
It-
it's Zach saying basically like it's him challenging a character just like he did with Superman, where
Mhm.
it'd be different if Zach was making this version of Batman and he just wanted him to be killing people and be brutal because it was badass or something. That's not the approach that he was taking. Same with Superman. He's challenging what we know of these heroes, which I find way
Exactly.
more interesting than just getting like
Absolutely.
just cookie cutter, like, oh, he comes in, saves everybody, and leaves. Like, I like the deconstruction, but me personally, I know that doesn't
Well,
sell tickets, but
no, but like, I absolutely agree, and I think that, and this sounds bad, but I almost feel like I wish Zach would have went back and just put in a line for people who don't want to have to think, because not everyone got that, and so
yeah,
like when he was talking to Alfred, when he says new rules, he goes, "We're criminals, Alfred. We've always been criminals," and he's kind of telling him like, "No, things have changed," and it's a beautiful line
yeah.
that the exchange they have, especially,
Or would you
but
call it a beautiful lie?
a beautiful line. But I mean, it's almost as if if Alfred would have said, "You've never killed people. You've never brutally, done this to people in the past.
Yeah,
Why do it now?" Something
it's
like that. So the
you know,
fans, so the idiot, and
well,
I don't want
it's
to say idiots, but
subtext. I
so
mean,
the fans can be like, "Oh, I get it. He's changed.
well,
He's
that's and
changed."
that's exactly what they kind of did with and I'm not. I liked a lot of the Flash. I really did. I liked the
I did
stuff
too.
with him and
There's
his
a lot of
mom.
things. Yes.
I like that
Yes.
stuff. One thing I wasn't a fan of with Keaton's Batman particularly was that, like, I feel like, he comes up to Barry and he's like, my parents died. And it's like, and literally in the theater, I'm thinking, here we freaking go. Like, you know, like whereas Zach gave, Ben Affleck's Batman is still tortured by, and he's still haunted by his parents'
Mhm.
death, obviously.
Absolutely.
But he gave Batman something new to have issues with. He didn't make him still. It's not just the parents. He gave him the entire thing with Metropolis and losing people that work for him, and like this. It was a new thing that we got to see Batman deal with, rather than the same old like, yeah, my parents died in an alley. And at some point, you're like, dude, okay, like I know, and Keaton just says that, and it's like, I feel like that was what you're talking about, sort of. It's where they have a line in the movie for people to be like, "Oh yeah, that's right, Batman's
Oh
parents
yeah,
died.
yeah, that's right. His parents. Yeah,
Oh,
it's like
that's
no
right. That's
shit.
why. That's why he's dresses up like a bat. That's okay.
It, it almost would have been better if they had the line and then Barry just would have said, "Yeah, I already
Yeah,
know that."
like challenge it, make it at least
Yeah,
funny. Where Barry's like, "Let me get. Yeah, I know your parents died. Like,
yeah. Well,
yeah,
and that was the funny thing about the Flash, was that it had a lot of humor, kind of like that. Like, for instance, when it came to Flash, there were a lot of things I didn't like, but there were some things that I did like, and I liked a lot. And some of the humor for me landed really well. Like when Barry tries to run and he doesn't have his ability,
yeah."
he's like,
That was funny. Yeah,
what's funny about that is that everyone always would make fun of the way he runs, and so the movie kind of made fun of the way he
they riff on it.
runs,
Yeah.
yeah, without actually saying it, so
You
it
can
was really
kind of
good.
tell if you watch the movie. You can kind of do like a drinking game on like, oh, this is a Andy Muschietti moment that was in the original thing, and this is something that the studio mandated or like was like a rewrite or something. It's like you
Yeah,
can kind of tell.
well, and then recently they released the Flash Film News released 2 clips that are going to be on the physical copy later on, and one of them, it shows young Barry wearing the Flash suit. He phases through a door in that facility, and he looks up and he sees the Kryptonian pod
Yeah,
that she crash landed in, and then her suit hanging there. And in my head, I was like, dude, why wouldn't you have this scene in there? This adds
well, it was
way
in the
more
trailer.
context. Yeah, it was in the trailer. I
Yeah,
mean, we all know trailer. Not everything in the trailer makes it, but still,
I mean,
that would
yeah,
have helped it a lot more. Because later on, she just kind of had the suit. It was like, oh, was it just laying there? They're just like, oh, no, you sit in it.
yeah. Like, why is it just balled up on the floor? Yeah, like
Yeah,
it was
get it
weird.
sell. Give me suit I throw on the floor. You know
Well,
what I mean? It was kinda like,
my
what the
thing would
fuck?
be my question about that was like, why would it even be in the pod with her? Because wouldn't the military want to like analyze a suit from another planet?
Well,
That's like,
I mean, but in that room, the suit was up on the wall, so at least
Oh,
you could
that's true.
say
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
you know, they may have been testing it. Who the fuck knows?
Yeah, but
But
it's better than it just being in a ball on the floor. You know?
it was
Yeah.
like, hey, here's your pillow. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
It didn't make any sense. I was like, what? Why would you didn't have to go back? You know, and then there was obviously the scene that they recently released where it talked about how, you know, Batman stopped being Batman for 25 years because he killed a criminal in front of the criminal's son. You know, and I thought,
Yeah.
okay, I get that. Like, oh, like and to be honest, I would have rather that they had that in the film so that it gives Keaton's Batman a little bit more context, a little bit,
Yeah.
you know, flesh out the story. Because at one point, it just kind of feels like Keaton kind of takes a back seat. All of a sudden, like he's not the focal point anymore. It's, you know, because there is no real villain. It's Zod, I guess, is the villain.
I mean, well, Keaton's Batman, they kind of just took away like a lot of his. I feel like there was so much more of him in the original cut of the movie or something, and now we just don't have context for so much of like his life. So it just feels like he kind of just shows up as like, yeah, I'm old Batman, like I'll help you, like all right, let's go, and then there's no. You know, I really thought we were going to get kind of like a follow up on the story from Batman Returns a little bit.
Something, you know what I mean? Where even if it was him, like if they were talking about love or something and he was just like, you know, I once fell in love with somebody, but she couldn't stay, you know, something about Selena Kyle or I don't know. It's just something else. And
yeah, I mean,
and they couldn't do that, and
they didn't make any references to villains or to the point where I feel like you could have slotted literally any Batman into this movie and just done the same exact, like it would not have changed anything. Like nothing about this screamed like we needed Keaton back as Batman for this.
Yeah, you know, it felt like if it was George Clooney the entire time, it would have been the same impact. That Keaton had. I thought Keaton did a really good job, and I thought his acting was really well, and I thought that you know, him playing Batman, you can tell it for me at least. It didn't seem like it was a hard thing for him to do. Like he knew how to play the character, and I thought I actually really liked pretty much everything he did in the film, but except for at the end when they're fighting Zod and the other Kryptonians, which is kind of a crazy scene. At one point, he's in the Batwing, and he's like, I'm going after the big one. I was like, what? I'm like, what are you doing? And then he shoots at it, and for some reason, that one has shields, and then he gets shot down immediately. I'm like, okay, wait, so they weren't trying to shoot you.
Well, he shot the grappling thing at the other two, and it went right through it. There was no shield, and then the other thing, he went and just ran into it. It's like, oh, that one has shields.
Well, it's the thing. He shot at it. He got shot. He got hit by it, and then he crashes into it. I'm like, well, motherfucker, like it just had a force field.
Well, I meant the Looney Tunes thing he did, where he shot the thing and he the grappling hook at the two different ones, and then like made him like Tom
Collide.
and Jerry, that thing. There was no shields on him then.
No,
unless they just shielded the big one. I don't know. Like
it just kind of felt like at the end of the day, it looked like you had multiple scripts going on at the same time, and that they were kind of building a movie and putting scripts together to make a movie. The Flash is an entertaining movie. I do like the movie, but it just, I don't know. I mean, even the unused end credit scene that Hamada was going to plan on using with Ben Affleck saying, "Find us, Barry. You have to find us." According to like viewer Anon, I think posted that's what he says. Who was us? I don't know who us is in terms of like who's he with. I think that
Hamada's crisis event was going to be.
Yeah,
basically.
And then there was an article that came out recently saying how like, oh yeah, he was going to be lost in time. I don't think that's the case. I think he was just going to be another leg of the multiverse because I mean, if you have him traveling through time, like. You're telling me that Ben Affleck was like, yeah, I'll come back and do a Batman solo movie where I'm traveling through time, but Deathstroke's the villain. He's chasing you? I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense.
Oh my god!
The last place I end up is where we fight each other. No,
like Ben Affleck is not going to do like basically Bill and Ted's Batman movie where he's like going through all these different like wacky. He's not going to do that.
Well, and then a lot of people argue. They're like, hey, Mike DeLuca, he wanted to bring all these guys back. Here's my problem with that. Is the thing that people need to realize is that when, like, look, I'm all for, Mike DeLuca's plan about, having Cavill be, Superman. Batfleck would still be in the fold somewhere down the line. But the problem is that if you went with something like that, you're gonna get a studioed version of Henry Cavill's Superman. You're going to get a studio version of Ben Affleck's Batman, The Flash, Aquaman. You're not going to get the Zack Snyder version of these characters. And so I think when it comes down to it, if you're James Gunn, do you say, okay, I'm going to use the characters that we already have and make the best of it and tell the story the way I want to tell it? Or do you say, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and reboot the whole thing. At this point, I wish he just would have rebooted the entire thing, as opposed to cherry picking the side characters he wants.
And there's like this, I don't know, it's like the misconception for people on Twitter. I guess everybody thinks that I'm like no, I only want like I obviously I want the Snyderverse to continue. Obviously,
well, yeah,
I would love that.
All of us do, yeah.
But here's the thing: I don't know why these people are wanting like a bunch of these Hamada projects to like continue, because didn't everybody just like hate on Walter Hamada?
They did, but then when they saw these other characters that they liked, they're like,
you guys would have hated that too.
Exactly, because
look, hated that. Like,
everyone complained about. A lot of people complained about the Henry Cavill we got in Black Adam. A lot of them complained about the Ben Affleck's Batman we got in The Flash. You were going to get more of that.
Which, by the way, the people that complained about Henry Cavill in Black Adam, I have no idea what they're complaining about, because he literally shows up for 5 seconds and he's like, we need to talk, and leaves.
And people were like, why is he in the blue suit? Why is the yellow so bright? Why is it John Williams' theme? It's kind of like, dude, just be happy that he's there.
I mean, and now he's gone, and now people are like, "Oh no, wait, bring that back! We were just kidding."
Well, it's like, yeah, exactly, right.
Wait.
But see, but that was the thing that you had touched on earlier, was that when you look at the MCU, right? They had a run that took them all the way to Avengers Endgame, and then a little bit after Endgame, obviously you had No Way Home, you had the Multiverse of Madness, so you still had some good shit that was coming out with some kind of boring shows, but like Loki was really good. WandaVision I thought was fantastic, except for the very end. And WandaVision, I see, when it came to WandaVision, I really thought that they were going to build up to, I was convinced in my head that they were going to build up to a reboot, and the reboot would have been that. And this is all headcanon, because I thought this is where I thought they were going with all this, is that I thought at the end, or not at the end, but at one point, Charles Xavier, probably James McAvoy at this point, was going to show up with Michael Fassbender and talk and tell Wanda that, like, the events of House of M, where she says the words "no more mutants," and she eliminates all the mutants off the planet, right? So
yeah,
I was thinking, man, that'd be really cool if like they showed up and told her like, hey, and she's like, I know you, she goes, yeah, you put us on a different world when you uttered the words "no more mutants," and essentially the MCU that you've been seeing is the MCU with the mutants removed from it.
Yeah,
and that's what you've been seeing this entire time. And then you reboot the whole thing, and then you have all new characters again with the X-Men in the fold. They couldn't do that. They just couldn't reboot.
The amount of theories about about MCU stuff and Disney Plus shows, I have heard way better fan theories than anything that they are doing.
Oh,
like so much cooler ideas, so many more.
It's gotten so bad. It's gotten so bad with the MCU.
WandaVision had the potential. I loved the show was so good because it really made you think that, like, the end of the show in the last couple episodes, you were going to get some like earth-shattering, like not a CGI fight or anything, but like earth-shattering, like revelation or something, like what you're saying, like about mutants or about how the world is, or maybe like my thing was, I thought that Evan Peters really was Quicksilver, but he basically was under some kind of spell by Agnes to like not know who he was, and she, he had come through because of Wanda wanting her brother so bad that she she couldn't bring back the dead brother, but she brought back a version of her brother from another universe.
And that would have been awesome.
Yeah. And then in the last episode, have him all of a sudden, like the spell drops on him and he's like, holy shit, I'm Quicksilver.
Yeah,
and then
or
he goes
he's
through
like,
and
he's like,
saves
what am I doing
everybody.
here?
Yeah, he goes through and saves everybody out of Westview with speed and gets him.
That would have been fucking bad.
Dude, and have another like scene with the slow-mo, that would have been cool. So many of these MCU shows, they set up such insane cool, ideas, and then the finale is like, just two people fight.
And that's it. Fucking bing bang boom, we're out of here.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that set the precedent for all the other shows, because nobody wanted to get their hopes up anymore, because they were like, that spoiled it, because it was like Ralph Boner. What the fuck?
Yeah.
And so then, Falcon Winter Soldier came out. That, to me, that was kind of a dud. It had some cool parts, but it was like, whatever. Loki was really good. Loki was one that ended, where you see Kang, you see the creation of the multiverse. So you're like,
Loki
okay, cool.
Fantastic.
This is great. I love this. And then from there, it just continued to shoot out just a bunch of
Falcon
garbage.
and the Winter Soldier, you had the opportunity, you're bringing back Baron Zemo, which now he's officially Baron Zemo.
Yeah.
It's like the MCU is so afraid of doing anything at all that the comics ever did. It's so weird. They're just so afraid of it. I don't know why.
Well, and that's the thing too, is that now I feel like the MCU has kind of reached a point where the DCEU was at the end, where you have these films coming out. When you have like the Birds of Prey, the Suicide Squad, Shazam, Fury of the Gods, Black Adam, all these films coming out, but there was really no connective tissue anywhere. So it just kind of felt like, well, why am I wasting my time? Like, yeah, it's a fun movie, cool, but there's no payoff at the end.
Dude, I loved Birds of Prey up into a certain point, and then when they freaking killed off Black Mask and didn't even kill him off in a way where you could be like, oh, he could somehow come back or something.
No, he's dead.
Blew him into a million pieces.
Yeah.
Whose idea?
Okay.
What was the point of that? Why?
I was like, now you just offed the character. So
you offed one of the biggest Batman. Like, he's a very reoccurring Batman villain, and you had Ewan McGregor, who was actually pretty great, and he could have shown up later in a Batman, because at that time,
and you had Harley Quinn kill him off. Like, oh, yeah, come on,
like,
what?
Dude, like, it's the same thing with the MCU right now, where like, okay, we're probably not going to see Baron Zemo ever again. We're probably not going to see 90% of these MCU villains ever again. It's like, why? So we can have original villains that you guys come up with that are always absolutely terrible?
Well, okay, so let's talk about Night of the Batman, because I know that, like, we talked about the DCU and MCU, all that shit. So now we go to what the fans can create. So Night of the Batman. Okay, so I know you don't want to give too much away about this, but you did reveal that we're looking at the villain. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And the villain is
Scarecrow.
And that's going to be really cool to see the fear toxin and the hallucinations, most likely, and all that. But what can you tell us about Night of the Batman, just to get fans excited for this project coming up?
Night of the Batman is basically a story. It's not Ben Affleck's Batman movie that he wrote, but it is a story that takes place before BVS, about 8 years before Batman v Superman.
Okay.
And it has a lot to do with Arkham. It has a lot going on with Bruce's inner turmoil with the death of Robin. It was basically my idea to do something that, because I like movies and I like TV that's like really like cerebral and like asks a lot of questions, and having the fear toxin and having Scarecrow be the villain was kind of like my idea of like, I can play with like Bruce's psyche, and I can play with like, I can make him see visions of things, and that's why the fear toxin is such a cool like villain device, is that Scarecrow is not a physical villain. He's not somebody that's going to come up to you and like beat the crap out of you. He's
scratch your face off.
Yeah. He could, but like, but he's psychological. He gets in your head, And I thought that was a really, really cool thing to do for Affleck's version of Batman, because he's already so tortured and grief stricken that having Scarecrow in it would be a really cool idea. So
No, I think it's awesome.
I went back and forth on whether I was going to ever reveal Scarecrow until way later, but I was like, you know what? I was like, too many people are asking me like what the villain of the project is, so I was like, okay, it's Scarecrow.
Well, when we saw this first poster, like a lot of us, like when we were doing the Four Nerds and we were talking about this, we're like, well, it's got to be either Scarecrow or like Bane.
Yeah,
because we're like, it's a mask or something. But yeah, I know it looks really cool.
Yeah, my buddy Strange SJP is his name on Twitter. He did this poster for me, and he did fantastic. And I gave him the Batfleck model. I rented that out for him, and everything else I just told him what the vision was, and he went and like absolutely killed it.
Wow.
So that's his work right there. And he did phenomenal. It was his idea to have the
phenomenal.
smoke and the eyes and the smoke. So huge shout out to him. He's awesome.
Let's check this. So another thing too was, where was it? So it shows the Batmobile on fire. So is the Batmobile in Night of the Batman?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Very briefly, I will say that, but it is. Because, you know, part of it is, and I'm sure you dealt with this too with Project Justice League, is it's so hard to convey kinetic motion in a motion comic. Whether you're drawing it or rendering it, it's hard to, you know. So I wanted the Batmobile to be in there because it's my favorite Batmobile. But at the same time, I was like, how in the hell am I going to convince people that this thing is like in a chase or moving?
Right? It's hard because Mr. Vega, Luis Vega, who actually did the VFX and the motion effects for Project Justice League, well, he had a question for you first. He says, that viral Nightmare Batman or Batmobile a picture you posted, was that AI generated?
I know the exact one he's talking about, and it was not AI generated, but it is a 3D model that I tweaked. Yes.
So when we had certain images, like, so I knew early on that when it talked about a Mad Max style, I don't know if it says Batmobile, but basically, that in Nightmare Future, they're riding around in a Mad Max style vehicle, right? So I told Ryan, who was an artist, I said, hey, I want it to be the War Machine. I want it to be the tank, the one that you saw at the end of Zack Snyder's Justice League, and you saw in Dark Knight Returns. Like, I want it to be that. And then originally, I wanted it to look more shittier and have spikes on it and kind of look like it came right out of Mad Max. Because I figured, okay, the Batmobile got destroyed. The Batwing's been destroyed, or his Batwing's been destroyed, so he still has this left. You know what I mean? So he's gonna ride around this big fucking tank because he's in a post-apocalyptic world where he's like, I need as much armor as I can get. But even that scene, we were like, well, how do we make it? How do we convey that it's moving?
Yeah,
we had to shake it.
Yeah. Well, that's and a lot of my struggle with this is, you know, initially it wasn't going to be a motion comic. I don't know if I've ever said that before, but initially I was actually going to try and pull like a actually rendered out like motion video. And I talked to oh man, I'm trying to remember his name. He's a really cool guy.
A resource.
Glorious Pictures. He helped you guys out.
Yes,
I think.
Ganesh. Yes.
Ganesh. Yes. He gave me some references for his Batfleck suit, which helped me out a lot. But you know, I need to still talk to him a little bit because I was trying to do like an actual video kind of thing, and I just started to realize, like, after I rendered some still frames, I was like, dude, this is gonna by myself. This is gonna take me 5 years. There's no. Because right now the team for Night of the Batman is literally like 3 people.
Yeah,
so
I mean, I had a team of 4. I mean, me included, and I was just the director. Now I'm the one who had to do. Well, we had 5 at one point, and then we lost one for some other reason.
Did you write it too? Like,
Uh,
did you write the segments that weren't, or did you just pull completely from the
no. So
storyboard?
all the segments that had dialogue, I had to write those. So like
Okay,
I had to write the extra dialogue, or like
I was
the way I
wondering.
would say it was, it's the implied dialogue.
Yeah, that was good. That was good. That's why I was asking. I really like that.
Well,
The stuff that was added.
one of the things that we ran into criticism wise was, people were like, well, why didn't you have the Joker in it? And I was like, well, that wasn't in the storyboard. Yeah,
Yeah.
but Zach said that he would have added the Joker in that scene where he talks to them about how he killed Robin. I'm like, right. I don't know what they would have said. I'm not
Yeah.
going to write that scene and then have you watch it and go, well, that was shitty dialogue. You know what I mean? So I was like, I'm not going to do that. So
Oh
we're
boy,
basing
yeah.
it
So
off the storyboards that he shared.
yeah. So you can
And-
see. So this is so my idea is completely original. So when this comes out, I'm sure to get a lot of internet writers, writers that come at me and are like, "Oh, this is the worst shit." Like, like, I'm sure I'll get those people, but it's I'm doing it for me, and I'm putting it out in the world. Hopefully, if other people enjoy it, that's awesome too.
Well, it's funny because like for Project Justice League, we actually had Karen Bryson, and she did the voice for Queen Hippolyta. And there was a line that she was supposed to read, and for some reason she didn't read it. Like we gave her all of her lines, and when we got all the recordings, that one, the
Just
one
that
line, she didn't, it just wasn't there. And so we weren't about to ask her again, like, hey, you missed the line. And so, and what it was supposed to be was, when in the first scene, when we see Wonder Woman dying from the gas on Themyscira, you see Hippolyta holding Wonder Woman. And Wonder Woman is like, mother, and then the line that she didn't read was, she's supposed to say, no, Diana, please stay with me. And then later on, when Hippolyta dies in the final battle, Diana's holding her, and she says, and I actually got Liz Wonder she read the line, and she said, no, mother, stay with me. So it's supposed to be like that,
it's like
kind
a
of
parallel,
mirroring.
yeah.
But the thing too was that, I kind of felt like, I wonder if that was something that Zach was going to do anyway, because when I've read the damn thing so many times and gone over the story so many times with the storyboard, that was kind of like, man, I can kind of see like where it was going to mirror each other in many different parts. There was a lot of mirroring in a lot of different parts that I ended up pulling out, and I was like, wow, I wonder if that was supposed to be that way.
The temptation for me was to pull stuff from like what we know about Ben Affleck's Batman movie, but like there's a couple elements in what I'm doing that have to do with that, but mostly this is all original stuff. So it's been kind of a challenge for me, because I'm like, I don't want to let people down. Like, I don't want to like not include stuff that people want, but at the same time, I'm like, I've got to like focus. I'm trying to tell a specific story. The same thing with like what, exactly what you're saying is sort of like, you were focusing on the storyboards. And if you had went through this whole thing with Joker and the big table where he's talking to everybody, how do you execute that in the middle of the story? It's like, that's a whole movie.
So there was one scene that I had started to write, and then I said, you know what? No, stop. Like, this is not in the storyboard. You're adding story now, and you shouldn't be doing that. And so I stopped myself.
That's the struggle. Yeah.
And the scene was, because I was like, well, because people kept asking me about the Joker. And so I was like, well, how do I fit him in? And I thought, well, at one point they head out to go to a cathedral to get one of the mother boxes. And so I thought, well, if there was a time to fit in the Joker in the story, they would have, on their way there, they would have stopped somewhere.
Yeah.
And Green Lantern, being new to the scene, would have been like, hey, why are we stopping? What are we doing? And Deadshot would have told them, like, or he would have saw Batman walking off into the distance, like, going somewhere, and he would have said, where the hell is he going? And Deadshot would have told him something like, he's just doing his thing, leave him alone. And then it would have caught up to Batman, and then he would have met the Joker, who was basically at a rendezvous point, and he was going to give them the location of where the mother box was, and they would have had an interaction where he would have then talked about the death of Robin and all the other. But to me, I was like, hey, this is kind of similar to what you got in Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah.
And then as I started to write it, I was like, you know what? This wasn't even in the fucking thing. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to add story to it, you know? So I just decided...
Joker is a part of Night of the Batman. He's not the main villain, and he's in like a couple scenes that I have written out. But it's not a huge presence, and that was one of the things I'm like, do I need to expand him in this because I know people are going to want that? But then I thought about it, and I was like, no, I'm not going to compromise what I'm trying to do.
You can't
just have more Joker in it, but he is in it, so.
It just has to be your vision, and it has to be the way you want it to look. Otherwise, if you start doing that, I mean, I went down that road many times, and a lot of times, Ryan Zeverfat would have to talk me down, like, no, we're not going to do that. We shouldn't probably do that, dude. And there were some scenes that we left out that we didn't get a chance to get to because it was hard coordinating all this. But
well, for me, the biggest thing is, it's like. The voices. I'm sure that was a hard thing for you to do, is cast, like figure out like who was going to play.
So for on our end, it was actually, that was one of the easier parts at first, because everyone was so excited about the process and about Zack Snyder Justice League. They were like, when we asked them, they were like, yeah, let's do it. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, let's do it. You know what I mean? Everybody was like fully on board, like, fuck yeah, let's go. And then, we were even able to get like some real actors to voice some of the characters. Like we had Sam Benjamin, who's a real actor, and there was a whole rumor about him being Green Lantern. We got him to do Green Lantern, and he did a really good job. We were like, wow, he sounds
I'm in the process. I've reached out to a few people, like bigger. I'm obviously casting some smaller actors and bigger. I'm trying to get some bigger actors, and I'm trying to like. Mix it up.
Hard.
There's a certain cameo that I really, really, really want in this, and it's like, I'm not gonna say what it is, but it's a gargantuan. No, I'm not. But it's like a gargantuan thing I'm trying to work out. But I do have I've just cast Nessa Noel. She is awesome. She's fantastic. She's playing Renee Montoya, and she's gonna be part of like. There's going to be several scenes in this where involving like Gotham PD and Gordon, because I feel like that was one thing I wanted to touch on a little bit, because I feel like we just got like almost none of like Jim Gordon and
Gotham PD no, definitely.
So in Batfleck's world, so Renee Montoya, Jim Gordon, both are Gotham PD and are two people that Batman goes to ask for advice. So,
and just to clear the air, Droga, no, you were never going to be Robin, because Robin was never in the movie. He was never in Project Justice League. He was already dead. All you saw was his costume hanging there. But no, and casting is tough. I mean, that was another character that people asked me about, and I thought about was, how could I fit in Commissioner Gordon? I was like, well, guess what? He's not in the storyboards. Don't worry about it. Like, I can't just be adding shit just to add shit to do fan service, And
I don't know, I don't know how you approached it, but like trying to find like certain people that sound like the actors is like absolutely insane. With like Renee Montoya, like, we have the version that's in Birds of Prey, but I'm kind of doing like I'm kind of doing my own interpretation. Me either.
Well, it's hard because when we initially started the whole process, and then it got shut down, and then I kind of reinvigorated it and restarted it, and we finished it. But initially, the actor we got to voice Aquaman was Harry Lennox.
Oh my god!
And he voiced Aquaman. Like, I have the recordings somewhere, and he was my Aquaman. And then when we came back around, I had a buddy of mine reach out to him who got him who originally got him to do that.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was him or his people said, you know what, at this time, we don't, it's not a good idea to be a part of this, or it was something like that, which we knew that he was probably not going to be a part of it. But originally he had agreed to do it. And so like he was Aquaman. And so the cool thing about it was that, it's like, that's not Jason Momoa, but like it's Harry Lennox's voice. And
Did you have? I can't remember for the life of me. Did you have not Green Lantern? Did you have Martian Manhunter in Project Justice League?
He made a cameo, but he didn't have any speaking lines.
Oh, okay. Because I was about to say, man, if you cast him as Aquaman and not Martian Manhunter,
he had voiced all the Aquaman lines, and they sounded really epic because Harry's got an incredible voice.
God, yeah.
And so once we'd made the decision, like, okay, we can't use him, that was a hard one to replace because then we said, okay, if it's not Harry Lennox, then who the fuck sounds like Jason Momoa? Fucking nobody.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know anybody. We scoured all of our YouTube friends. Like, nobody has that voice, and so then, Ryan Zeverfed, he's the one who was like, fuck it, I'm just going to do a voice. And if it's just going to have to be what it is. And so he voiced, and it was what it was. But
my Aquaman is Commissioner Gordon, because J.K. Simmons has such a, with like Batfleck, you can get away with a little bit because he's got the modulator as Batman.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And Jared Leto's Joker's not too hard. And I have a lot of original characters. Well, not like original, not like original characters. They're from the comics, like Scarecrow, but we don't know what Batfleck's Scarecrow even would have sounded like. So
yeah,
that one's easy. But like casting somebody that sounds like J.K. Simmons is absolutely insane. Yeah. That's so specific.
Well, we were lucky too because we were able to get Richard Citrone to voice Batman, and he's the stunt double for Batman. So I was like, dude,
so perfect.
Once he said yeah, we were like, awesome. And then we modulated his voice, and it was really cool. We actually, there was gonna be one scene in the project where it was gonna be his regular voice. But that scene never worked out, and so then you never really heard his
one
real
of the
voice.
One of the things I did, I when I went to LA was I actually asked at the time. I don't think I had announced it by then, but I was already like in the pre-production, like planning stages of Night of the Batman. And I actually asked. I got a few minutes with Zach. By myself, and I asked him some advice for Night of the Batman. And
really,
yeah, I was like, I told him I didn't have that long, and I was like, everybody, it was when Sophia Boutella had came in. That's not giving away too much, but
no, it's not,
because everybody knows that she was there. But like Sophia Boutella had come in, and everybody was talking to her, And so I just kind of walked over to Zach and was talking to him for a minute. And I asked him some advice on it. I told him I was doing a Batfleck specific project. And, of course, Zach, he was like, oh, that's sick, man. That's awesome. Like, hell yeah. I was like, yeah, you got any advice for me? And he told me some really good things.
What did he tell you?
Yeah, I can't tell
you. You can't what? He didn't say, like, he told something he said. Was it cool? I mean, you're talking to the guy who directed, the coolest Batman we've ever seen in our lives.
And I basically was like, I literally, it was so stupid because like I felt dumb.
You're like peeing in your pants, like
yeah. I'm like, oh, I
felt
like, wait,
what did you say? I wasn't listening.
I felt stupid after I asked him, but I was like, I just wanted to get like, it sounds so dumb in retrospect, but I was like, I just want to get your blessing for this project. And he was like, oh, you don't need that, man. Like that's you can do whatever you want. And he was like, but that that's awesome. I was like,
right,
that's all I needed to hear, dude. That's it. That's all I needed.
I need your blessing. You're like, shit.
It'd be funny if he was like, no.
so he's like, no, you can't. So there is the image right there where obviously you won the contest. You're one of the winners of the contest to go visit the set of Rebel Moon. That must have been incredible. I know you can't talk too much about it, but what can you say quickly about your time on the set of Rebel Moon?
It was wild, man. I mean, it was crazy. Man, I'm like stepping around words, but it was something I'm not going to forget for a long time. And it's going to be really interesting when the movie comes out to like compare things with the
like how it looked when he's filming it to how it looked like when
it
finished
product. Just in general things that I saw. It's like, it's going to be cool to see a lot of that in the finished product and stuff. And to be able to see Zach in his element was really, really cool.
Yeah, that must have been pretty awesome.
As somebody that's doing, that has always wanted to be a filmmaker, and it's probably not going to happen, but like the Night of the Batman is the closest thing that I'm probably going to get to that. That's still really cool to be able to say that I saw that,
Oh yeah, dude. I couldn't. I'm the one who called Dawson, and I was like, "Dude, you did it." He was like, "I did what?" I'm like, "You're a finalist,
Dawson,
dude." He was like,
Dawson messaged me and like in all caps, and because I didn't see it, I was working, and I got a message from Dawson like, "Bro."
Yeah,
and I was like, "What are you talking about?" And then I just see a Twitter notification, and I just see it says Zack Snyder mentioned you in a tweet, and I was like, "What?" I was like, he never mentions people in tweets. What the is this about? Like,
you're like, is it really Zack Snyder or just some troll?
Yeah, I was like, yeah, but then I was like, I don't have notifications on for like a fake Zack Snyder account, so I was like, shit.
Yeah, I know, right?
So I immediately was like freaking out because I honestly didn't think I'd win. I was like,
and
I'll just.
Is that image in here of the character that you created?
It might be. Yeah, it might probably farther down. I think maybe. I can't remember if I posted it on Instagram or not.
But I mean, that must have been pretty incredible just to go there. And
I don't think I did. No, that's too far down.
Yeah, we're going too far back in the past.
Yeah.
But that must have been incredible though, just visiting the set, being able to talk to him and Deborah Snyder. And
yeah, I mean, and God, Debbie was with us like all day, and she's one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. Like, just so, I mean, like so cool, like telling me what was good from craft services. She was like, oh yeah, this one's really good, and then like walking me over to the other one. This is great too. Like, nice people. Clay Enos, incredible guy. Me as a photographer, I was like geeking out over meeting Clay Enos. I think more than anybody else. I was like, dude, what are you shooting on? Like, what's that lens? Like, what is the, he's got like 18 cameras over him at all times. And he's just like, oh, you want to look at this one? I'm like, yes. And he's casually like, oh yeah, this is the camera that I shot like the 300 portraits on, and this is the camera that like.
That's insane.
I'm like, dude, I can't. You're killing me right now. Like, so yeah, he was like, that was a highlight for me. Wesley Collier, getting to meet him, he was awesome.
Yeah, I was able to meet him at Full Circle. It sucks because I actually got an email from Wesley Collier before day one, and what Dave and Stephen Colbert and Scott and all them got to do, or they went backstage and got to watch the movie with Zach. So during Man of Steel, I was supposed to be the third person to go back there,
dude.
but because of my schedule, I wasn't able to go to day one or day two. And so I was like, oh, I'm only going to day three. He's like, oh, we're not doing it on day three. Sorry. I was like,
I tried so hard to go to that, man. But like living on the East Coast in the South and trying to get to LA in like 2 months is like, if they had given me like 6 months, I probably could have done it. But 2 months, there was just no way.
It's just like, I was really heartbroken when I found out that like I could have been one of the three guys for Man of Steel that got to sit down and talk to him. And, that would have been the trip of a lifetime, and and like, I still had the emails on my phone because I'm just like, I have to have the proof.
Well, it's funny.
Call my bullshit on that.
So many of the people from like the Snyder Cut community have met each other and have hung out. And I'm like the outlier. Like, I haven't met anybody, like, other than Dawson. I have not met a single person. Like, I was supposed to, Dave and I were going to meet up when I was in LA, and I didn't realize how tight of a schedule they were going to have me on for coming over there.
Oh yeah, they had you guys in there and then out.
Yeah, like Dawson. I could talk about this part because it had nothing to do with like the actual thing, but like, I haven't really ever flown that far, like in my life. I've been down to like Florida, and I've been up to Canada. But that's about it. And so like, I didn't even know what to pack. I was still like freaking out about the whole thing. And I wake up that morning, I'm like, dude, I gotta go to the store and like get stuff. And he's like, you realize like the van to pick us up is gonna be here in like 10 minutes, or like we thought like 10 minutes, but it ended up being like an hour. And I'm like, we're like walking to this convenience store in Beverly Hills, and it's pouring rain. And he's like, dude, this is so weird for LA. Like it was just like downpour.
Really, it was pouring in LA.
Yes. You can ask Dawson. Like we were walking, and I'm like, this is normal for me. Is this weird here? Like, what is so like?
It doesn't rain that often, or pouring that.
And
that
I'm
is,
just,
but...
and I'm going to the store and buying stuff, and I'm in Beverly Hills. I'm like completely out of my element. Like that is not somewhere that I'm used to.
I mean, I'm in California, but I'm in Northern California, so.
Yeah.
And California is so big. I mean, originally I was going to drive down there. So that's like from where I live, it's like about a 6.5 to 7 hour drive.
Wow. Oh,
and God. I was going to do it because I was just like, well, I mean, I have to at this point. I ended up, buying a plane ticket and flying there, which was a lot better.
That's Northern California is somewhere that I've always wanted to visit. There and Washington State are two places that
Washington is very cool. I've been to Washington and I've been through Oregon as well. Both of them are really beautiful as well.
I'm a big Twin Peaks fan, so that was like my thing. I want to go up there and visit all the Twin Peaks stuff.
But man, I mean, look, we're past the hour mark. Obviously, we're gonna start wrapping things up. But I gotta say, man, it must have been such an amazing feeling just to go there, see Zach in his element, see him direct a scene, just, and Dawson told me that anyway, just all the cool shit that you guys got to experience, man. That's really awesome. And I'm glad you were able to do that. That's just, you're amazing artists. And it's funny because when you guys were both on the ballot, to go to be a finalist. We ran around I went all through Twitter, all through my group chats, all this shit, saying, vote for Aaron and vote for Aaron and Dawson, vote for Aaron and Dawson, because if anything, I was like one of these two guys has to win. I thought the grand prize winner gets to go. I didn't know the top 10 or whatever, or top 5, whatever.
I was confused too.
Yeah,
that's why I was
like, get to go?
Yeah, that's why when he was like, hey, dude, check Zach's Twitter, and like I saw that he mentioned me, I was like, what? Hey, Colin, what's up, man? I was like, what is going on? Like, that's because I was in the same boat as you. I guess I didn't read the terms and conditions or something well enough.
I know. I didn't know I told Dawson, I was like, hey, if they allow you a +1, because he was like, yeah, my wife can't go. I'm like, dude, if they allow you a +1, I will fucking drive down there and I will be your +1.
I wish they had given a +1, because I would have taken my fiance with me. Like she really wanted to go, but for the price of the, I had a feeling when they told me like, the how much they were giving me per day, or like how much the trip was, I was like, yeah, they're barely like, this is like, they're not trying to cost too much with this shit.
No,
so,
yeah. But I heard it was really nice though. Like, they
fed
you guys nice. And drove you.
Yeah. Dawson and I like waking up in the morning and going to the hotel thing for breakfast. And, me, I live in the South and I live in the middle of nowhere. Like I literally live in cow fields and so I'm sitting here in this like 5-star, hotel, and they're like, oh yeah, you can order anything off the menu, but all this stuff's free. And the free food was better than like most things I've had at like nice restaurants. I was like, okay, cool. Yeah.
You're like, this is great.
Yeah. But the funny thing, my submission, like I this whole big thing where people are like, oh, he made that with AI or whatever. Like,
well, I was going to ask you about that. I remember that kind of crept up, and I thought, man, people are being real cynical here.
Dude, I had people telling me like to jump off a cliff and stuff, because they were like, you lied to win the contest. I'm like, I didn't freaking lie, dude. It's not like I don't have a background in art for years. Back, it's not like this is the first thing I've ever posted.
Right. Now, people are, especially on Twitter, people are just really just brutal.
It was so insane, and I had to like defend it. I was like, guys, okay. And then so I literally posted a like in progress of the damn thing to be like, look at it. It's like it's in so now I don't know if you noticed this, but like under most of the 3D renders I do, I post a literal like wireframe of the model.
Yeah, because otherwise they're going to question it.
Like when I posted my Joker concept, and if I post like Superman stuff, I'm like, here is the wireframe of the 3D model that I used. It's not fake, I promise. It's not AI. Like, and I'm one of those people. I have a really weird stance on AI. I'm not a fan of like the replacing jobs aspect and stuff like that. And I've tinkered with it. I've messed with it, but like it's not part of my like full on like workflow or anything. Like
Right.
the most I've ever used AI for was to like generate like a background that was blurred out behind a character or something. Just as like a scene kind of thing. But like most of my stuff like I just post proof now because I'm like I don't feel like going through the the mob that comes out when rightfully so. Like I get why people are upset, but
I mean, for people to say that to you, that's pretty intense. But I guess the fandom you're dealing with, people will go to those lengths to
it's
try
a lot
and
of
break you down.
people. Well, and most of the people that say have tried to say that are people that don't really know me, and they don't know that I've been an artist for 10 years. They haven't seen my backlog. When the Rebel Moon thing happened, like I was like, guys, go look at my Instagram right now. I have stuff posted with 3D models. I have like other kinds of art, photo manipulations. Like it's all there. You can look at it. If I didn't have that, yeah, it'd be a red flag. And then there were literally people that submitted actual AI art, and hardly anybody said anything to them. And I was like,
but they did to you because they thought, because you won, so they thought, oh, we got to break, we got to knock you down a peg or two and make you not want to go. It's crazy what people come up with,
which didn't dissuade me. I was like, whatever,
no,
I'm still going.
It's crazy to think about, people, the lengths they'll go to try and prove a point, even though they have no proof whatsoever that what they're saying is even true. They're just going off an assumption. And especially on Twitter, or I should call it X. This is a terrible name. I'm on X. They will just let it fly and say whatever they want to say to prove their point, even though they literally have no proof or evidence that it's true.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's because of like it's like with anything, like people, when and like I said, I have like the stance I have on AI is I do not want it to like replace people's jobs and artists and things like that. And I want it to be I want it to be ethically, like what Adobe's doing right now is actually a lot better than like Midjourney or something like that. Where Adobe is using their own like stock resources to fuel like their AI stuff. That's a much better idea because that's all stuff that they've already paid photographers and artists to do.
Right.
But my thing is just like I understand the worries about it because it's the same thing as like when like digital photography became a thing, and people that had shot on film since the beginning of photography were like, this digital stuff is not real photography. They were like, you can't,
that was a real thing.
You're not doing the work. You're not loading the film in. You're not exposing it. You're not taking it to a dark room. And, but the difference is that was a process, basically, that you were just removing a step. Whereas I think the fear with AI is the whole, like, where does it come from? If you don't have actual artists doing work, there's nothing to fuel the actual algorithm.
Well, and I think the other aspect too is that you have individuals that are not artistically inclined in terms of like they don't know how to draw, they don't know how to use software. All they know how to do is use AI, and they tell it what to make, and then all of a sudden, oh, look what I made on AI. And it's like, well, you didn't make that, you just told it what to do.
And I think it's one thing if you post it and you're like, hey, I did this with AI. That to me is fine. It's when people start putting like watermarks on it and stuff that I'm like, oh, like, like what are you watermarking? The text you typed in? Like it's weird.
Yeah, it's a touchy subject, but I think that really it all depends on how it's used, and yeah, it shouldn't replace jobs, especially in the entertainment business or within art in general. But it's going to exist. It's going to continue to exist, and it's going to continue to get better and better.
It's not going
better.
Anywhere.
No, and not only that, but I mean, you have technology now that can recreate actors' voices to say whatever you want them to say. I mean, that alone is scary. Like, man.
People asked me if I was going to use that for Night of the Batmans. People were like, "Are you going to use AI voices?" And I was like, "Absolutely not." Like, and that's why I'm not really to the point where I'm comfortable with like the casting phase yet. But I wanted to go ahead and cast some people to give everybody that vote of confidence. That's like, no, this is like this project has real voice actors attached to it. I'm not typing things into some program and having it say it. You know, it's real people are going to be saying the lines, I promise you, and all the art is done by actual artists in Night of the Batman. Like,
dude, I'll tell you what. So at one point when we first started doing Project Justice League, when we actually ended up changing it and we started using more fans, but at one point when we had people agreeing to it, like I said, Harry Lennox agreed to it. Ray Porter had agreed to do Darkseid. He was going to narrate the whole thing at one point. But then because of legal issues, he thought, you know what, that's probably not a good idea right now. So we ended up going with Geraldo, who did an amazing job.
oh yeah,
Outstanding job. But originally it was going to be Ray Porter. So we were like, oh man, if we have him attached to it as a narrator, this thing's going to fucking blow up.
yeah.
And then we had Karen Bryson, who was fine with us using her voice when we restarted the project. And then we, at one point for Lois Lane, we had Christina Wren, and she did a really good Lois Lane, but then we couldn't get a hold of her for a while. So then I decided, you know what, I'm just going to recast her. And so I recast her with my friend Allie Brooks from Super Hive DC. And then after she submitted her audio and I worked her audio into the project, we heard back from Christina Wren, and she was like, "Oh, if you want to use my voice, go right ahead." We're like, "Oh shit!" I was like, "Well, it's too late now." I told my friend, I was like, "Hey, just tell her, thank you, but don't tell her we use somebody else. Just say thank you." You know what I mean? Like, yeah, cool, awesome. I don't think she's waiting up at night, to see when this thing drops. So I think we'll be okay.
When's it come out?
I know. I've been waiting for it. Where is it? But yeah, man. So that's going to do it for the show. I want to thank you so much for coming on here and talking to me and the fans. It's been an hour and a half. I know you got to go to work tomorrow morning, so I don't want to keep you up too much later. But Aaron, thank you so much for coming on here.
Yeah, man.
Where can they find you and all of your art and your content?
I'm at Aaron Bailey Art on Twitter and Art of Aaron Bailey on Instagram if you want to follow me in those two. And all updates for Night of the Batman will be on my Twitter, and we're actually getting ready to possibly launch a Night of the Batman Twitter, so it's just easier to find that information.
Yeah.
So when that comes out, definitely follow that too.
Awesome. And do you have a release date?
As far as release date, all I can say is 2024.
Yeah, that was a hard one too. They kept asking me, when are you going to release it? I was like, and it had 3 different release dates. We kept having to push it back.
It was a Warner Brothers situation.
Yeah, exactly. And then we were actually released part 1 because originally it was going to be a part 1 and a part 2. So, okay, real quick. Originally it was going to be
me actually because I saw part 1 come out, and then I was like, the whole thing is, what is this now? Like,
so we decided. If we just put out part 2, then part 1 will get lost by the wayside. So let's just do the whole thing at once, which is what we should have done to begin with. But we were trying to get it out. Yeah. And so originally the concept was that we were going to release it over a weekend. And so I was going to do a charity event where we were going to have like 3 or 4 shows, stream on YouTube and help raise money for AFSP, and then drop part 1 Saturday night. And then the next day on Sunday, have again 3 or 4 shows leading up to the premiere of part 2. And then there'd be an after show after that, which would go over, what the, project was, or like, what the story was about, breaking down the story, and at that point, we were going to work on bringing some of the voice actors in. And, they would come on the stream and talk about, talk about working with Zach, all this stuff. So it was going to be really cool. But that sort of fell apart. That completely fell apart at one point because that was the original plan. And then the second time around, I was like, I'm just going to put it out there like a premiere, I'm just going to premiere it and then go with that. And it got, it's over 100,000 views It's at
I mean, that's fantastic.
I think it's got 135,000 views.
See, my issue with that is that I don't know where. I don't have a launching platform for Night of the Batman right now, because my YouTube channel is not. I don't really do anything on YouTube anymore. I used to, but so I don't really know. I mean, like, I guess with Twitter Blue, I can upload it on Twitter. I can upload like an hour of video.
One of the things that I did in order to help kind of generate more buzz for it was that, once it was pretty much done, I sent a copy of it to Dave Pena, to Chris Wong, to a bunch of these guys, and then had them do a review on it, and then post that video, and so that fans would see it and go, "Oh shit, I want to see this. What is this?" We told everybody, "Hey, don't show anything from the last battle." The only person I didn't tell that to was Chris Wong, and he showed hella scenes from the last he showed hella last battle scenes. I was like, "Oh shit!" I need to whatever.
If I need to like reach out to some like YouTubers and be like, okay, who wants to like premiere this thing next year? Like, because I just I have a platform on Twitter, but like YouTube is not my thing. Like.
Well, I mean, you can always, the Four Nerds, we're more than happy to do it. Dave, I'm sure would be ecstatic to do it. So just the bigger the reach, the better.
We'll put a big Four Nerds branded logo right at the beginning, just like fades in.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. But Aaron, thank you so much for coming on here. This was a lot of fun. We should do it again sometime. Definitely.
Yeah, man.
And I want to thank everyone else who came out as well. You'll be able to find this podcast on Spotify and on YouTube podcasts as well, along with my channel, the Nickatina Show. Please subscribe to the channel, smash the like button, sidekick that bell notification button so you're always notified of any new content the channel puts out. Consider supporting the channel over on Patreon or becoming a member on YouTube. So with that being said, I want to say thank you to everyone. Thank you to Aaron again for coming on here. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, man.
And I can't wait to see Night of the Batman, which is coming out in 2024. No sooner than that.
No sooner.
No sooner. And with that being said, guys, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.